First, I'm going to be taking this Coastal Scents eyeshadow in the shade Oatmeal Tan. On a large fluffy blending brush, I'm blending that into my crease. This will be our transition shade. This will assist the other shades to blend into each other, ensuring that everything looks very seamless. I'm using windshield wiper and circular motions to blend. We want our transition shade to be very blown out and soft looking. Now I'm moving on to this palette that is called In the Palm of Your Hand by the Balm Cosmetics. I'm taking this shade called Sexy, which is described as a burgundy with red and brown tones. It is also a matte finish. I am applying this with a e.l.f. blending brush and placing the shadow underneath the transition, using a combination of back and forth circular motions to blend. I am concentrating it in a V shape on the outer corners of the eye and slightly extending it and dragging it outwards. I've changed my brush for a small fluffy blending brush. I've done this so that I can disperse the colour in a less saturated manner and to guarantee that the shades Sexy and Oatmeal Tan become one. I am making sure not to apply too much pressure, just enough so that the bristles are lightly grazing my skin. I had to switch eyes because my hand got sore. I hope you guys don't mind. But I'm further building up the Sexy shade, still using the e.l.f. blending brush. I'm dragging the shadow into the crease and further into the inner part of the eye. Now taking the transition shade on a large fluffy brush, I'm blending all these shades together. This is the main technique that I'm going to be using, is to go back and forth in between the Sexy shade and the transition shade until you achieve the desired intensity. Because I have hooded eyes, I am looking straight so that I can place that Sexy shade above my crease using the e.l.f. brush. Now I'm further blending with a large fluffy brush and then repeating the process with a pencil brush to map out the cut crease. I'm using the technique of looking straight to ensure that I place the shadow above the fold. I want the cut crease to be visible even when my eyes are open. I'm going to stop about halfway and I want the outer corners to be very blown out. Now taking some concealer, on a concealer brush I am cutting the crease. I am placing the concealer directly underneath the soft line that we had mapped out. You want to just take your time when doing this because this can be very tricky, and I'm stopping about 2/3 of the way. I'm using patting motions to lightly blend out the concealer. Now I'm going to set that with a translucent face powder. Because my cut crease is a little bit wonky, I'm going to correct it by applying some Sexy shade using a pencil brush. I'm also going to make the color more intense and opaque. As I'm going to be applying metallic gold eyeliner soon, I want the contrast to be very apparent. Now I'm moving on to my favorite palette. This is the Sleek Makeup Eye Divine Sunset palette. I'm taking this shade called Starry. Starry is a metallic rose gold that is more on the orange side. Then I'm applying Starry with a small flat brush to the inner corner of my eye. I'm using patting motions. From the same Sunset palette, now I'm taking this shade called Sunrise. It is a medium metallic gold. Taking Sunrise on a large flat brush, I'm applying that right next to Starry, and I'm using the same patting motions, being careful not to go past the cut crease that we previously created. Then finally, the last shade from the Sunset palette is called Dawn, which is described to be a rusty orange-brown with a gold shimmer. I'm applying that with a flat brush right next to Sunrise. I'm using the same patting motion technique. Now going in with a small flat brush, I'm going to blend the shimmers together. I wiggle the brush where the two colors meet to achieve a nice seamless gradient. I do this with no additional product on the brush, and I do this for all three shimmers. Now just going back and adding some shadow from the Sunset palette where I think I lost some pigment, and then repeating the blending process in between those shades with very light pressure and with short strokes going back and forth. Now that I'm happy with those shimmers, I'm going to be taking Milani's Infinite Liquid Eyeliner in the shade 04 Forever. It's just a beautiful metallic gold. I'm just tracing the line that we created. I'm using short flicks. This eyeliner is very thick as it is truly a 24-hour eyeliner. Once it is dried though, it does become one with the skin. I am stopping at the end of the Dawn Shimmer shade. Now we shall move on to the lower lash line. Using the transition shade Oatmeal Tan, on a small fluffy brush, I'm running that back and forth below the lash line. Another Coastal Scents eyeshadow called Tangelo Tint, which is a nice bold orange, using the same brush applying that on top of the transition shade. I want the bottom lash line to be more warm than the top of the lids for a more better contrast. This is the shade Raisin Berry by Coastal Scents, a stunning cranberry maroon shimmer. I'm using a flat definer brush, applying only to the outer corners, making sure to connect to the top outer corners. The final shade is called Maroon Berry. It is a very deep reddish brown. Because it's matte, I'm using that to blend out Raisin Berry and add some depth. Then I blend everything together with a large fluffy brush. I'm going back to the Sunset palette and taking the shade Starry, which is the first shimmer that we used on the eyelids, on a small flat brush, applying that in the lower inner corner. Moving on to Bourjois Paris Ultra Black Waterproof Eyeliner, I'm applying this to the bottom waterline. I love a black in the waterline as it adds that extra sexiness. To tightline the top lash line, I simply drag and blink at the same time. This is the infamous Trophy Wife Highlighter by Fenty Beauty. I'm applying that as an inner corner highlight. It adds an extra pop and it complements the other tones and shades. I went ahead and did a wing off camera, and now I'm going to be adding a couple coats of Maybelline's Falsies Big Eyes Waterproof Mascara. This is the finished look. I would describe it as being really sexy with a hint of sultry and a whole lot of wow. All products will be listed in the description box. However, if you would like to see this look without being so zoomed in, make sure to check out my Maybelline highlighter review. And also, don't be shy and check out my other content. Thumbs up this video if you like it, and comment if this is a look that you would wear. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos. It has been my pleasure, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!